Okay, Denise, before we even get into this, I need you to sit with something for a second. So imagine building a life with someone for nearly 20 years, supporting them through school, raising their kids, helping them become successful. And then one day, you're not just replaced, you're erased.
Oof, that's heavy. But not quietly either. Like publicly replaced, upgraded, moved on from like you never existed.
And not only moved on from, but rewritten. Like your entire contribution to someone's life story gets reduced to a footnote.
And then you're left trying to figure out, if I'm not who I was to you, then who am I now?
Whew. And that's what makes this case so uncomfortable. Because by the time we get to the murders, this isn't about one moment, it's years of unraveling.
Yeah, and the scary part is that you can actually trace it step by step.
And it leaves you with a question you don't really want to ask.
Yep. How far is too far before someone breaks?
This is the story of Betty Broderick,
So go ahead and pour something strong tonight.
because this one lingers. Welcome to Crime and Unwind. I'm Aixa.
And I'm Denise. Okay, what are we drinking tonight?
Ooh, a Cabernet, full-bodied, deep, and heavy.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. So this one's a 19 Crimes Cabernet Sauvignon from
Okay.
Australia. Don't mind me as I struggle to open it. I'm excited.
Me too.
You can actually scan the bottle. There's a QR code and it lets you track some
Information?
19 crimes that they.
I don't even think I've ever heard of Mexican crimes.
It's pretty cool.
Don't mind me. You got it?
I think so.
You need me to hold it?
Hold on.
There we go.
Smells good.
Now, mind you, red wine is, it's a little, how would I say, not expected from us to drink.
I know. Red wines are very, very good, and most people prefer. Now, we do prefer the white wines,
Yeah.
but
It
sometimes,
smells okay.
little once in a while, a
Yeah.
good red wine won't hurt.
It's
I
not
like
bad.
that. I like
It's
that.
not bad at all. I thought, to be honest, I thought it was going to be stronger because it has a scale light to bold, and it's almost near to the bold. So I thought I was gonna be out here making crazy faces, to be honest.
No,
But it's
it's
not
good.
bad. It's not bad at all. Yeah.
Okay, I can
Mhm.
do that.
All right.
All right. So let's go back before everything collapsed. Betty meets Dan Broderick in college. He's ambitious, he's driven, the kind of man who already sees his future clearly.
Yeah, and Betty becomes part of building that future. She works, she raises the kids, she runs the home, she supports her husband through med school, law school, everything.
And people don't always acknowledge this phase of relationships
Yeah.
when one person is building success and the other is holding everything stable enough for that success to exist.
Right. And she didn't just like dip into this role. She fully lived it. 4 kids, constant responsibility, financial pressure early on, relocations. It was sacrifice after sacrifice.
Yes. And eventually it pays off. So Dan becomes a successful medical malpractice attorney in San Diego. They live in La Jolla. Money, status, image, all of it.
Right. So from the outside, they weren't the couple. So the kind of couple that people admire and quietly compare themselves to.
Couple goals. Right.
Nah, not them.
Yeah, but perfect is
Yeah.
often just unexamined.
Yeah.
So because when their identity is tied, when your identity is tied to someone else's success, what happens when they no longer need you the same way?
Yeah, it's tough. And this is where everything starts to shift Enters Linda Cocaina, I think is how her name is pronounced. She's young, she's polished, charismatic, very different energy than Betty at that stage of life.
And she starts working for Dan. So at first, it was nothing obvious, just small changes, subtle distance, late nights, emotional withdrawal.
Yep. And Betty feels it before she can prove it. You know that
we always do.
That gut feeling that you can't explain, but also can't ignore.
Yes. So when she finally confronts Dan, he denies everything. But he doesn't just deny it, he reframes her as paranoid, emotional, and overreacting. What do they call it? Ghost?
No, that's low key
gaslighting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So this is where things get psychologically damaging, because now she's just not dealing with the betrayal. She's being told that her reality is wrong.
Makes her feel crazy.
Yeah.
But eventually the truth does come out, and it's not just an affair. It becomes something bigger in her mind. My entire life is being replaced.
Not replaced, upgraded. Like, she was version 1, and someone better came along,
2.0,
and just totally took over her life. Yeah, that's crazy.
So now this divorce, it turns into a war.
And Dan is a lawyer, and he's a successful one, so he understands exactly how to navigate the system.
Yeah. And Betty, she starts to lose control piece by piece. Finances, stability, access, even her home life structure.
And she wasn't just losing a marriage, though. She's losing her identity.
Yeah. And then comes the escalation. Phone calls, voicemails, showing up uninvited, emotional outbursts.
She even drives her car into his house, not once, but twice.
And the system begins labeling her as unstable,
which then creates a cycle. Yeah. Hurt, reaction, label, loss of credibility, more restriction, deeper hurt.
And once you're labeled inside a legal system, everything you do gets filtered through that label.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the kids. There are 4 children in the middle of all of this.
And they're growing up inside conflict that they didn't create and they can't escape.
2 narratives, 2 homes, 2 emotional realities.
And at that age, you don't have the tools to process all that. So it becomes confusion, loyalty conflict, emotional fragmentation.
Yeah. And that impacts, it doesn't just disappear. It definitely carries forward. So November 5th, 1989, this was the moment that everything changed. Early morning, Dan and Linda, remember in the beginning, he denied her completely, right? Now married, are asleep.
So they're asleep in the home that Betty once lived in, the one she belonged in at one point in time.
So Betty drives there, lets herself in, which I don't know why she still had access to go in, but whatever.
Did you have in your car any keys that you thought might fit one of the doors of Dan's house?
Yes, I had a key ring with a funny looking key on it.
Okay. Was it because of the shape of the key that you thought it was to Dan's, that it would fit Dan's house?
It was a very strange looking key, and long before I was informed, or the kids told me, that Dan's keys were very funny looking, and I knew Dan had funny looking keys. It was a good chance that that was his funny looking key.
Okay. Did you use the key to get into the house?
Yes.
Okay. And what were you going to do if the key didn't work?
Got in the house anyway. We always got in the house.
Walks upstairs and fires 5 shots,
killing both Dan and Linda in their bed.
And just like that, everything collapses into one irreversible moment.
So the country becomes obsessed with this case because Betty doesn't deny it.
Yeah.
The TV room door was wide open, and then the door to their bedroom was part open. It wasn't closed. It was like a jar.
Okay. And did you go into that? Did you then go into their bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you do when you went into their bedroom?
Well, the motion that I made, although I don't think it was a big motion, the movement that I made into their bedroom woke them up, and they moved, and somebody screamed, "Call the police," and I said, "No!" And I just fired the gun, and this big noise went off, and then I grabbed the phone and got the hell out of there. But I wasn't even in that room. I mean, it just was an explosion. Just, I moved, they moved, the gun went off, and it was like, ah! And it was that fast.
Yeah. She explains, she justifies, she speaks openly about her emotional state.
I remember leaving my house, backing out of the driveway and leaving. I remember that, but I don't remember at which point I decided where I was when I decided not to go to the beach and go to Dan's house. All the way to Dan's house, I was just thinking, I've just got to make this stop. I just got to make this stop. I'm not going to live another day like this. I can't wake up just being absolutely at his mercy anymore. So all the way there, I just kept thinking, I've got to make this stop, I've got to make this stop, and I don't remember what even road I took to get there.
So her defense argues psychological breakdown, emotional abuse, and long-term distress.
Yeah, they introduced battered woman syndrome, not physical, but psychological erosion over time.
But the prosecution argues something very different: planning, intent, revenge.
First trial, hung jury.
Yeah, no decision could be made.
No.
But the second trial, she was found guilty. 2 counts of second-degree murder.
And she becomes inmate number W424777.
So after sentencing, Betty goes to prison. And over time, she becomes one of those cases that never really fades.
Well, because people kept trying to define her. Was she a victim? Was she a villain? Or was she something in between?
Interviews, books, documentaries, all trying to answer the same question.
Yeah, but no version ever fully settles the debate.
So Denise, what do you think? Did she snap, or did she know exactly what she was doing?
So I think she unraveled for years, but still made a final conscious choice. So,
But that's what makes this case so hard, because both truths can exist
Mhm.
at the same time.
mhm. And Betty once said, "He stole my whole life."
And that statement is part of why this case still sits in such a gray area.
Yeah, because legally it's clear, but emotionally, people are still debating it decades later.
That tension between what's legally true and what people feel is true, that's exactly why this case never really goes away.
It forces you to sit with something very uncomfortable. You know, breakdowns don't happen in one moment, they build
Quietly,
Mm.
slowly, over years.
in ways that people don't even notice until it's too late.
And by then, the only thing left is the moment that everyone judges, not the years that led up to it.
And that's what makes this story linger.
Not just what she did, but everything that came before it. So tonight, as you sip your wine,
Think about how fragile identity can become when it's built entirely around another person.
and how easy it is to miss the slow unraveling
Because it doesn't always look like breaking.
until it is.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening to Crime and Unwind. I'm Aixa.
And I'm Denise. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Cheers. Mhm.